Welcome, welcome to everyone who's joining the webinar. We will be ready to start in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us. We're very grateful that you took the time this morning.
There are people. There are already people. How exciting. Hey, everybody. I can't see or hear you, but we're really glad you're here. I just popped in. Oh, look, here comes Carrie. Watch, she gets excited. Watch her.
Teepa, it's so funny when I'm talking to people about the Tovertafel because I talk fast. So I'm like, have you heard of the Tovertafel? And they're like, what did you just say to me, ma'am? Because it's a Dutch word. So they're like, what? So I have to slow it down. I'm like, the Tovertafel, but that doesn't help because they're still like, what? So just putting that out there before, as I'm spewing out Tovertafel, it's the magic table. Just putting that out there because I get excited, and then everyone's like still, on the thought that they're like, what did she say?
A table, which a table is a surface, and a surface and a table, people and tables go together because we do things at tables. Yes. So it's a really kind of a cool concept just to even start with, because tables are familiar surfaces where you typically look and use your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some combo things that already make sense to a human brain. And then what they've done with it, though, is super, super interesting and exciting, and it's actually effective. And so that's what's really, it's evidence-based. For those of you, that high-pitched voice that I did, it's evidence-based because everybody wants something that's evidence-based, and it is. And that's beyond exciting. That's science plus art equaling care. That works.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so now, okay, let's see. We're down to, looks like we're supposed to start.
Yeah,
is that true?
I can start with a bit of housekeeping. And that way it'll give the latecomers maybe one more minute to join us. But hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are very excited that you took some time to be with us this morning for the next half hour. I am joined by the wonderful Teepa Snow and Carrie Alberts. And we are very excited today that we are going to be able to talk to you about purposeful play for challenging dementia behaviors. We have an exciting agenda for the next 30 minutes. We're going to start with Teepa explaining what behaviors can be challenging and why these behaviors, we see those behaviors and some of the coping strategies that we can do. And then we're going to have Carrie present the Tovertafel, which is a mouthful, as you've already mentioned, but is a way to provide engaging and purposeful play to help create meaningful moments of connection and engagement for people with dementia. They don't need introductions, but I'll do it all the same. Teepa is an occupational therapist with over 40 years of rich and varied clinical and academic experience. Her experiences led her to the development of the GEMS state model and the positive approach training strategies. Her company, Positive Approach to Care, or PAC, provides online and in-person education and products to support those living with brain change, with the mission of creating a more inclusive global community. She also leads the Snow Approach, a nonprofit organization based in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and Teepa presents extraordinary expertise and humor to audiences throughout the world. Thank you, Teepa, for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's always great fun to get to share time and space and opportunities with folks.
We also have Carrie joining us. Carrie is also known as Dementia Darling on social media, and she has a Master's of Science focused in gerontology and has been dedicated to seniors for a decade. So she created Dementia Darling on social media to provide a safe place for dementia caregivers to find community, support, resources, and education. Carrie has her certified dementia practitioner and certified Montessori dementia care professional credentials, and she hopes to be a sense of love and positivity along the dementia journey. Thank you, Carrie, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. As a professional in this space, we know getting to talk to Teepa is is peak. So this is huge. So thank you, Teepa, and thanks for letting me be here, especially to talk about something I'm so passionate about, which is the Tovertafel. So thank you.
So I hope everything is working on your end. We have almost 100 participants. That is very exciting. And so what I will do now is, without further ado, I will let Teepa start our webinar to explain a little bit about challenging dementia behaviors and why we see those happening.
Now, here's this one thing. Now, when we did the practice session, there was something you had to do so I could actually do what you asked me to. So my hands are tied. Let's see if you did it.
I just did it.
Yes, you did. Good job. All right. You did recall the thing we talked about, which means she has a hippocampus that could take data, learn it, and hold on to it. So when I said that, it wasn't being mean. It wasn't me trying to be catty or snide. It was because I couldn't share my screen because the host has to allow it, and that's Marianne. So for people living with dementia, one of the challenges we frequently come up with is what we want and what they want don't always match. What we think and what they think don't always match. What we do and what they're doing doesn't always match. What they say and what they want may not even match. Or what they want and what they say isn't something we feel like we can deliver. So if that's the case, we've got a problem, Houston, because we're trying to do what we call care. But what we're doing doesn't seem to be caring. It seems abusive or neglectful, and it's neither. It's us struggling to figure out how to help. So one of the things that we're going to do today is talk about causes and triggers, why it is people do what they do when they live with dementia, and what some things we do that make it worse instead of making it better. So to do that, I'm going to show you a PET scan, because for me, looking at something is always better than just talking about it. And this is work that we do in order to better understand what's going on. And Gary Small did this work at UCLA. And what he looked at is he looked at a typical aging brain, a brain that has early signs of loss due to a dementia, a late loss brain, and a healthy child's brain. And particularly the kinds and parts of the brain I want us to take a look at is the front of the brain, which is in the white circle or oval, the hippocampus, which is how you learn and remember and know where you are in the world and how much time has gone by since, that's the yellow oval, and then the amygdala, which is your primitive brain, and it is in charge of threat perceiving, needs meeting, and pleasure seeking. Ultimately, its job is to keep you alive. And then that green circle down there, you see, you can't see much of it. It's the vision center. So it's surrounding the part of your brain that allows you to see things. And the code there is if it's bright red, there's a lot of activity, glucose metabolism going on in there. If it's yellow, it's medium. And if it's blue, it's very low. And if it's purple, there's no activity going on in that chunk of brain. So that's this slide. And what I'm going to do is just take off the circle so you can see it without the interference. And what do you all notice about the two brains between the typical older adult and the healthy 18-month-old? What do you notice about color changes? So Carrie, you're here, so I'll ask you to respond for the group. What do you notice about the ability of the brain to use fuel to do its job?
How it's growing from being a child, and then
yeah, like what you notice here compared to here, and what you notice here compared to here.
Gosh, well, like there's a lot more purple, of course, and so there's a lot more.
Yeah, so in a young child, we see a lot of the brain not yet activated because they're just learning to use their brain at 18 months.
Yeah.
They're learning to use their bodies and their brains. They're learning to see things and try to do things, but they aren't real good at doing things. And they don't always remember a lot of stuff, and they don't know where they are and when they are exactly. That's up to the person over on the far left-hand side to help with that. And so notice how that brain is really busy, really active, really fired up. And if we notice the person with late loss, do they look a lot more like the 18-month-old, or do they look a lot more like the typical aged individual?
Not like that 18-month-old, unfortunately.
Yeah, so if I ask him to do what I would ask a typical older adult to do, what's going to be the outcome?
Not really great.
Don't go to hell. Oh, well, that went well. Because you tried to get me to appreciate what you wanted me to do, which is sit down in the chair. Don't bother that other person. You can't go out that door. It's 3 a.m. Go sit down for a few minutes. Oh my gosh, could you get to sleep? You don't need another drink of water. You've just had 3 drinks. You haven't had anything to drink. You need to drink something. Now, who do I sound like right then, Carrie?
A parent to maybe a toddler.
Or a stressed out caregiver.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, bummer. So in either case, what we're doing is creating a relationship that doesn't sound real caring, although we're both trying to care. The problem is we're approaching the other brain as though it has capacity that it doesn't have. And we're wanting it to appreciate our care when what we're doing doesn't feel caring. It feels not okay. So rather than just talk about loss, I decided we need a different way to address this. Whether we're talking about dementia or 2-year-olds, what we want to pay attention to is what makes them special, what makes them shine, what makes them this unique character that they are. And so I came up with this gem state model of allowing us to see people for their abilities, not just their loss of abilities. And so when someone is in an emerald state, let's say, their vision is approximately, they can take in about 18 inches of visual field at a time, which means it's like walking around with binoculars on. So if I have my binoculars on and I'm looking out the window, I can't see what's down on the floor right in front of me, which puts me at high risk for what, Carrie? What's the thing?
Oh, not being able to walk correctly and
Yeah, could I fall and get
yeah.
hurt and break a hip?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if a little kid falls, what do?
They go right down.
They
and
get
then it's
back
a-
up. Yeah,
Well,
what
yeah.
do they, I mean, they're like bouncy balls because they've got lots of fat and their bones are very supple and their heads sit right on their shoulders and they have lots of padding everywhere and they're learning how to walk. For someone who's older, though, fear of falls and fall-related injuries are big, big deals. And if I have someone who's starting to struggle with balance and coordination, boy, if they have binocular vision, they could be missing a lot of things in the environment. And if I'm constantly going, Carrie, no, that's not your room. Carrie, come back this way. Carrie, whoa, Carrie, there's something. Whoa, Carrie, you're going to trip. How much is our relationship being impacted?
Oh, a lot. And I'm going to want to run away from you.
Get away. And so that's going to make you more risky because you're more worried about me than anything. Yeah. But you still have a lot of skill with your hands. But the problem is if you're directed using skill with your hands, you're not paying attention to other parts of your body.
Yeah.
And you don't always know what you haven't done, what you need to do, what comes next. And so you may say, what time is it? When do I get to go home? I've got to talk to my mom because I'm getting lost in the details. It's too much. Now, in an amber state, it's a little different. That's all about sensory. I crave sensation and I like what I like. So I found this and it looks real. Oh, I can pump it. I got it. I figured it out. Carrie, what are you thinking?
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm going to have a big reaction.
Boom.
And then we're going to get in an altercation of some sort.
Yeah. And then there's an incident report to be filled out.
Yes.
That's always a useful time to fill out incident reports. Yeah. That's how you want to spend your time. And this was me with enough skill and enough curiosity. But when we come to doing care, if I don't like you already because you yell at me a lot, I don't remember the details, but I know I don't like you. And if I can't figure out how to use objects, this gets tricky. So the more I use objects and get a chance to practice with doing things, the better I'm going to be because we're firing my synapses, helping me fire my synapses. And then when we get to the Ruby state where I have strength but not skill, and now I have monocular vision, I have no depth perception. Ooh, boy. Now we've got additional issues. So if we look at these gem states really lend themselves dramatically to using the Tovertafel because they provide that surface area, that activity space, and they have the structure that allow me to use what I've got. because what they're going to do is respond to the vision that I have. They're going to respond to the language that I have. There's going to be this touching that occurs to objects, but I can give you a touch, but it feels different when we're doing something on the tabletop. And getting the person to do something is so much easier in this state when I have this supportive device. And so that's where the pieces of the puzzle come in, because in these challenging situations, we have got to get out of this habit of thinking that we got to fix the person. And the really cool part about the Tovertafel is we can work on all three of these puzzle pieces. The individual that's there can modify the environment, the Tovertafel, with an activity that fills the time so that the person's brain lights up the best it can light up, and I'm present, but I don't have to be on top of the person. I can be present, enjoying my time with the person, and that human being actually demonstrates a significant change in their brain and in their health because of the choices that I've made. And we could dig in all the details because we don't have time today, but I do want to say these 4 words. The Tovertafel offers something that's friendly, it's familiar, it's functional and forgiving. It is in a space that allows me to have my own space, but it puts us in personal space. It gives me a surface that I can mess with, and I'm not going to get myself in trouble. And it allows me to be social in a way that I can enjoy being social without forcing me into relationships. And that's where I'm going to pause right at the moment, because we could talk more about other things we can do to make a difference and how to engage someone with a Tovertafel. But Carrie, I'm going to let you take that on, because I'm going to put a pause in here because we want to acknowledge, wow, this is a lot. And I'm going to stop sharing now for just a second and let you see if you can lead us forward with how we're going to use this Tovertafel.
Absolutely. And I can
what it is
all day. Oh my gosh, you're so amazing. But yes, Marianne, did you want to put us into the Tovertafel time?
Yes, I wanted to kind of be the introduction to Carrie. You're now going to talk to us a little bit about the Tovertafel. For those who don't know, because we've been very secretive so far, the Tovertafel is a projector that you install in the ceiling of a common area in either a senior living community, a nursing home, or even a day center, because it projects games that are interactive. So it will emit both lights and sound to create curiosity, and it will detect hand movements. So all of the games are interactive, and that's what you can start to see in the, I think it's on the left. And I will let Carrie tell us which game she would like to start with.
Yes, let's start with the butterflies. I want you to tell me if you can hear it, listen for that music that comes on. But the Tovertafel, I'm so excited. Here, I'll be quiet for you to hear the music first. Very calming, beautiful music. So please keep an eye on the Tovertafel. You can see some flowers are coming up now for the hands. It's recognizing the hands that are there, and it's going to invite the butterflies to land on those hands. So the Tovertafel, as Marianne said, it is this amazing tool to have in your toolkit. Like, it is the ultimate tool for memory care for anyone working with people across their dementia journey. And what's so cool about it is the Tovertafel provides stimulation in cognitive, physical, social, and sensory aspects. So every single one of these games is going to touch at least 2 of those areas. So you're always going to be able to provide what is needed in that moment for your residents, right? So as Teepa stated earlier, those extrinsic factors we can help with, right? So this is an extrinsic factor that we can add to our environment as a tool. And it's just really cool because, as Teepa said as well, I wrote it down, the 4 categories of balance are productive, leisure, wellness, and restorative or calm. And the table does that, right? And
So Carrie, so take a look here, because we have one person's hand. It's just a flat hand and she's just barely moving. She is more interested in the flowers. Now, over on the other side, we had somebody who was already moving their hand around a lot. Like, get your finger out and mess around a little bit more. My second hand, play with it a little bit.
oh,
Go for it. And what we can see is when somebody gets more active and is doing more things, we can have more action. So if someone's in an emerald state and wants to do something, then we're going to get more there. If somebody's in more of a ruby state and then we're looking for a calming activity, and we can see that different people are doing different things, but depending on their visual field, that makes sense. So we're sharing space, but not having to share belongings or things that we might have a disagreement about.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's going to start a conversation, right? If someone you might have never talked to before, you're gonna be like, catch that butterfly, you know, or can you believe it's on you? And I always feel like a Disney princess in this game. I'm like, oh, they're coming to me. But what I like about the Tovertafel too, it's not just on a table, right? So you can project it right on the ground or on the person. So you could be right under it and catching all of the butterflies on yourself. So you can do a lot with that. But
This is me chuckling because Carrie is like, yes, butterflies are landing on me. I can see her in the Disney movie. And I'm like, yeah, that would never have occurred to me, being the practical person I am. I am like, oh yeah, no, on the table's good. But let's look at another one, because there are so many opportunities with Tover. It's just like so fun to check things out.
oh, it's amazing. I'm gonna actually throw us to the next level 3, and I'm gonna go to silverware polishing. Do you know this one, Teepa?
I do. And so when Carrie says level 3, that's sort of like a repetitive motor thing that results in an outcome. And so you can do it over and over and over again, and you'll get another one, and you'll get another one, and you'll get another one, which is really super for someone in an amber state. So
Yes.
go for it, Carrie.
Exactly. So the butterflies were really great for end stages, right? So no goal, there's no ending.
Ruby, you
At
just
level
do.
3, now we have a goal. We have something we're working towards. I love silverware polishing. You can see my team here. They're polishing the silverware for me. You can also throw in some rags so you can make it more, you know, sensory in that way. But this is wonderful to get people kickstarted for a meal, right? We have so many times where we bring people living with dementia to the dinner table and they're like, I'm not hungry. What? You know, and we're not even there in our mindset yet. So this is wonderful for those people who want to help. So maybe an emerald wants to help you do something familiar. So you set them up at the table with a group of other people and say, I really need you to help me do this for dinner. And then once, you know, 20, 30 minutes of them doing that, it turns into a whole meal setting on the table when you're done polishing. And then that's when you can bring in the food and say, we got it all done and now it's time to eat. And maybe that's activated in their brain.
Yeah. And so what's happening here is they're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So I could do a demo on a separate one and go, oh, check this out. And by using that cue and that motion, and then they can start to do it. And then they see they have an impact. Now, those are cool things. So that repetitive back and forth, and start maybe with just a finger, and then it gets more vigorous.
Yes.
And they're composite anytime. Now
Exactly.
let's take it up another notch, Carrie, because there's more, and
There is more. And I just want to go on top of piggyback on what you were saying. Let's go to mole hunt, ladies. But I want to piggyback on that. Even the slightest of movements is going to be picked up. It breaks through apathy. It breaks through all of these hard things that we're working with in memory care. And so it pulls them in. So even that slightest motion will give them what they're looking for and what they're needing in response. So now you can see they're playing one of my favorite games. It's very physical and social. It's whack-a-mole pretty much. It's called mole hunt. So you can go for it, get out that anger, get out that physical, you know, need that we sometimes get during sundowning, right? You have someone that's agitated, needs to get out that energy. Let's go hit the table or put it on the ground. Let's go stomp on them with our feet.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the proprioception. This is the OT in me going deep pressure, deep pressure, deep pressure. And when we give it deep pressure, and it gives us pleasure, because what they're doing is successfully, boom, got it. And what happens is the energy goes from the amygdala feeling distressed and needing to get something, or I'm not getting my needs met. Deep pressure in your palm, that deep pressure, whether it's a fist or a palm or a hand, doing that downward hard over and over, just like the rubbing the silver, but different. It actually energizes and puts dopamine, serotonin, it starts releasing chemicals of positive outcomes, and it can bring the adrenaline up a little, but in a way that's constructive rather than destructive. And all of a sudden people can be, oh, you got one, get that one, get that one. And so you're also doing reaching and moving in ways that otherwise people can get into a pattern of this posture and this movement. And then when I go to try to catch myself in a fall, I don't have the ability to do that.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, and we got the soccer game up now, which is one of my favorites to put to the floor.
Yes, for the floor, because I just have too many of those traumatic experiences of people getting hit in the head when I was doing activities. So this is really great. No one's getting hit in the head, and it's that slightest of motion. You can use your feet. I was recently working with someone who had a stroke, Teepa, and we could use just one hand or really only a pinky, and we played everything. So it was very magical in that sense.
And what happens is we're talking about health and well-being, and that sense of well-being and the sense of having control and the sense of being connected. And there is nothing more powerful in life than to feel like you have control, you are connected, and you can make a difference. And that's what this does.
Exactly. So, you have very little control when you move into a community, unfortunately, right? And so what I love about the Tovertafel, it's very positive. You're never going to get negative feedback. It's all, everyone can be themselves at the Tovertafel. You can feel valuable. You can, win. You can, do all these amazing things, like you said, to have that.
And a carer can have an eye on and be able to go do some other things that need to get done.
Exactly.
So I can step back as life steps forward. So this table becomes a space where people can enjoy, or the floor becomes a space where people are doing things. And I'm present, but my whole focus doesn't have to be in keeping you from that challenging situation that keeps coming up.
Absolutely. The table does most of the work for you. You don't have to do much of anything.
And I'm betting that many of you weren't paying attention to time.
I know, we need to go. So I'm going to say one other thing. We were going to show a leisure memo game, which is on level 5, so early stages, but this is pretty much a memory game. And I just want to tease and put it out there, something called Tover Lab just dropped, where you can make it even more person-centered and add your own pictures. And I'm going to stop it there, but it's absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to just up that person-centered care a little bit. But this is just a very, very quick view of the Tovertafel. There's so much to share with you. So if anyone is interested, I'm going to pop my email in the chat there. Please feel free to email me. I do on-site demos. I do virtual demos, and we can talk all about it. I want to make sure everyone has this as a tool in their box. Okay. Let's see where we're at.
Oh, we are real close. And I don't know if we have any. Oh, you've got questions. Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
We do have questions. And so we had a question, which was around how can you use the Tovertafel when people are sundowning?
One of the ways I started, so if I were to say to you, listen, I got to get out of here. My mom is looking for me and I've got to go. First of all, you have to use some skill, and you have to go, oh, your mom is looking for you. Wow. Let me check and see if I can find out what the deal is. Could you do me a big favor? I have something I need some help with just for a minute. And now we're getting rid of these leaves. Could you help me get rid of some of these leaves? We just need to move them off the table. Could you help me for a few minutes? Yeah, there you go. Oh my God, you're so helpful. Wow, that's wonderful. Oh, you know what? Oh, you are doing great. I have some silverware that needs polished. Because what I had to listen to was the message. My mom is looking for me. There's something about mom. I'm in my life, but I'm thinking my mom is looking for me. I could explore it some more, but in the meantime, what I'm going to see is, could I become that person that gives you direction? Could I become a person? Will it work? And it's like, if it does, you're engaged, and now I can try to figure out, what else do you need? What else is going on for you? But it gave me a place and time to be able to think.
Absolutely, yeah. And with so many of our games at sundowning can go a lot of different ways, right? So, someone can get really agitated, someone can get really weepy, someone's exit seeking. So you can kind of fit with what are they needing? Is it someone who's really fidgeting and needs to So I'd put on the bubbles and I'd say, can you pop all these bubbles? They're all over my table, and make it a whole and then get them to help me pop the bubbles, So yeah, same thing as people want to help, so offering something for them to help. Absolutely.
Filling that void that afternoon and recognizing I may need a gradation off of what I did in the morning for this to work. Be honest. If I'm changing, I'm changing. You don't need to make it a big deal. It's just, I've changed, you've changed. Let's figure out what to do. And that's where the Tovertafel can help us modify our expectations to better meet the abilities that the person has in that moment.
Absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
we are out of time.
We are out of time. There's so many interesting questions, but I'm gonna have to answer an email. So Carrie has just shared in the chat her email address.
It's only sharing with the host and panelists. So if someone, Marianne, if you're able to share it with everyone.
Absolutely. So I will share Carrie's email address in the chat. Feel free to copy paste it and email her if you'd like a bit more information. It should appear now. Also, a big thank you for Teepa to join us today. If you wanted to see the presentation that she shared, I will send right now in the chat the link to download the presentation around the GEMS model and the approach and how to think about the different pieces of the puzzle. And lastly, if you enjoyed this webinar, can I invite you to register for a webinar that we are hosting next week, which is also going to be really interesting. It's all about different technologies for older adults living with dementia. And I will share my screen because we have a nifty QR code that you will be able to scan directly from your phone. If you would like to join us, it will be Wednesday, so exactly a week from today, and we'll be talking about the Tovertafel, but some other very exciting and innovative technologies that we have at Uteria. So I hope many of you will be able to join. I will also send, like I just did, in the chat the link if you prefer to just click on it to register. It will be as interesting to discover new technologies as it was to discover the Tovertafel today. And with that, I'm just going to wish you all a wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much, Carrie and Teepa, for joining us. And we hope this was insightful and you learned something new by joining the webinar. So thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Yes.